Ladies and gentlemen, meet the fourth generation of the Kia Rio. This is a B-segment car, which means it's an entry-level car. It competes with cars like the Honda Fit, the Nissan Versa Note, and of course the Toyota Yaris. And the question is, how does this car compete with those cars? And I'm going to tell you right now. Under the hood is a 1.6 liter four-cylinder that actually puts out less power than the outgoing model. It puts out 130 horsepower and 119 pound-foot of torque. Now it is available in either a 6-speed automatic or a manual. And the crazy thing is, if you want the manual, you can only get it in the base version. Kia said that they tried to sell the manual in the upper versions of this car and nobody bought it. It gets 37 miles per gallon on the highway and 32 combined with both the manual or the automatic. And that's pretty darn good for a small little car that will seat four very comfortably. Lower, longer, and wider by a smidge, by about a half an inch. That's the difference between the fourth generation and the third generation. Of course, there are two models. There's a 4-door sedan and a 5-door hatchback. Now, if you want room, I'd go for the hatchback. It gets 32.8 cubic inches of space with the seats folded down. However, Kia says that you guys are going to buy more sedans and 5-doors. In fact, they say it's going to be a 70-30 split in favor of the sedan. I don't get that, but hey, I'm kind of a hatchback guy. Let's talk some numbers. Now, this 5-door hatchback is $300 more than the sedan. If you want automatic, that's another $1,000. The destination fee is $850, and all that basically means is that if you want the very base model, they start at about $15,000, give or take, and if you go all the way to this special launch edition model, then you're up to about $20,000. Now, that is not a lot of money for a car that can be used as either an everyday runaround or as a small family car if your family doesn't include a St. Bernard.
I'm 6'9", I weigh 320 pounds, and I'm in here quite comfortably.
That's amazing, Brian.
I've got headroom, I've got ample leg room.
Did you notice the one problem though?
What's that?
Let me show you right here. Check this out. Move your foot, put it into sport mode, flap it over. No, it just comes right over. That's a problem.
That's a problem.
That's a problem.
That is a problem.
That's a small problem.
But you know, I've never been able to shift gears with my thighs before. That's kind of neat.
That might be a problem for guys as big as us, but
that would be a problem.
Yeah. As you can tell, I'm sitting behind myself, and the legroom's not bad. Now, I am 6'2", soaking wet, but look at the amount of headroom I have. Yeah, putting 5 people in here might be tight, especially with a St. Bernard, but 4 people, quite comfortable. That's floored. You know, it's one of those cars that is probably best used as an economy car and not as a performance car. It's a little pokey. 130 horsepower out of a 1.6 liter engine isn't bad, but these small subcompact cars have gotten relatively big. So if you want a lot of room and you want a lot of airbags and accessories, they get heavy. And I think that the reason, now I'm only guessing here, I think the reason that Kia actually gave it less horsepower was because they made it a little bit heavier, they made it a little bit bigger, and they wanted to keep the MPGs at about the same place that they were in the previous generation. Now, Kia will tell you that they've recalibrated the engine for more torque in the lower band, so that there's a sense of it being more punchy, but yeah, you know, it's a little bit more noise, a little bit more engine noise than actually go. Clean, simple, and easy to use. That's how I would describe the interior of this car. You know, I'm 6'2", and yet I still fit with plenty of room for my co-driver. There's also a new kind of more upright display. Everything has been lengthened. The horizontal lines that are on the outside of the car are carried into the inside of the car. Overall, it's a nice place to be. I do have one complaint. There is no adjustable lumbar support, and that's tough when you're on a long trip. The good news is it feels really solid. The suspension handles this road like it's flat, which it is, but I did drive it on some highways here in Baltimore where it was a little bit more bouncy, and the car did really well. Overall, this chassis probably could handle an engine with a turbo. Is that coming? I hope so, because it could be a lively chassis. Kia was relatively conservative when they built this car, and what I mean by that is they went right down the middle. They didn't exactly make it incredibly sporty, they didn't make it exactly very luxurious, they didn't make it super sexy, but they did make it very utilitarian and very usable, so that there's a broad range of buyer that'll be interested in this car. It could be anybody from a starting first driver college kid all the way to the empty nester, all the way to a company that wants a car that runs medical records around town. It'll suit very well for all of those needs. I started this review by asking a simple question: how does this Rio stack up to the competing cars? And let me give you an analogy. Let's say the Fit or the Fiesta are kind of the Nike if this were a shoe. Then this is a car you'd buy at Payless. In other words, it's the one that's kind of the shoe you'd wear every day. It may not be the sexiest, it may not be the fastest, it may not even be the best looking, but it certainly is the one that works best when it comes to everyday use. As always, this is Roman reporting for the Fastlane Car. Check out tflcar.com for more news, views, and of course, real world reviews. Oh yeah, this car will be available next quarter. See you guys next time. Ciao. I gotta get dry. It's really wet.